guys, Jay here. Welcome to Models Memories Weekly, episode 159. Models Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk about painting, modeling, and working experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 YouTube videos a week. Ow! Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week, I actually got tons and tons of painting done. I played an absolutely epic game of Warhammer 40,000 where I practically won. And Games Workshop is giving away a very nice free model this month. But first, Games Workshop actually did show off a new miniature, and I barely noticed. For Age of Sigmar, we got a new Thunderstrike Liberator, and I didn't recognize this as a new model because I'm pretty sure we have Stormcasts with hammers. But it turns out that we do, but we don't. So I was thinking of the old Secretors, which was like the original Stormcast Eternals, but there's now a new version of Stormcast Eternals, which are the Thunderstrike Stormcast, and they have different art, like different design styles. I really like the new ones where their armor is a little bit more form-fitting and they're not just wearing poncho after poncho on top of blankets on top of a greatcoat with their gigantic armor, like slab armor underneath. I do like the new design quite a bit. But yeah, I definitely didn't notice that because I was like, yeah, you can take all sorts of different weapons on your Thunderstrike. You can take spears, you can take bow and arrow. I think there's even like a little dagger thing. But no, you can't, right now you couldn't get a Thunderstrike Stormcast with a hammer, but presumably with Age of Sigmar 4th edition, you'll be able to take a hammer. It'll be really interesting to see if Games Workshop, because they've definitely changed the look of Stormcast quite a bit, but is it enough that they have to discontinue the old line? And are they just gonna keep coming out with newer looking Stormcast Eternals that are kind of identical to the old Stormcast Eternals? And then you're gonna have 2 different things in the squad, like 2 different things in the army. Like, are we gonna go through a Space Marine situation where the new stuff is basically the old stuff, but we're keeping the old stuff around for like 3 years, and then it'll go to Legends, and then slowly it'll just work its way out of the game? I don't know, but I do like the hammers. I like the new Stormcast. I wish I have a Stormcast army. I have the old Dominion with Yandrasta in it, but I don't like, my dream for Stormcast would be like, I can have 40 guys, maybe even less than that, like 30 guys who can take on an entire Skaven horde. But it seems like, much like Space Marines on the tabletop, even though each Space Marine is an army of one, I lose about 60 armies of one every single battle against 70 orcs. And they don't quite feel as heroic and just impossibly powerful on the tabletop as they do in the lore. With that said, I am looking forward to Age of Sigmar 4th edition. I really liked 3rd edition. I only played it once with the Dominion set. It played really, really well. The only thing that looked really cumbersome was the army building. So hopefully if they kind of fix the army building and make it nice and simple and easy for me, I would definitely like to play a lot more Age of Sigmar. But speaking of things that I desperately need to play, and by play I mean paint for so that I can play it eventually, Don't Look Back. I have been doing so much painting for Don't Look Back, and it has been a wonderful opportunity to try out weird ideas I've had in my head and see what they actually look like on miniatures. And it's a great excuse because it's just one-off miniatures that, you know, they need to look good, but they don't need to look like my Space Marines, or they don't need to look like my Age of Sigmar armies. They don't need to look like my Malifaux stuff. They can just kind of end up as whatever they end up being, and they're perfect. The first model I painted is this Windo from Black Studios, the makers of Don't Look Back. And so for this guy, I really wanted to try static grass. I actually bought a static grass applicator, like one of those weird little handles with the cup, and you put the red wire on the cup and then you shock the crap out of yourself because you weren't paying attention, because it doesn't actually have an on-off switch, which is super dangerous. I don't know if it's dangerous. It runs off of 2 AA batteries, but it didn't feel great. It felt really, really bad. But I didn't quite get static applicator working on this guy, but he turned out just fine. So I used it on the base. It looks kind of bad, but I put it on the model itself to be the fur, and I feel like it looks fantastic. He looks so creepy and weird. He needs to go to the groomers because he's looking a little rough. He does have a little bit of a poodle cut going on, which I just think is funny. So I really, really like it. His spooky, weird skull face, his emaciated body. For some reason, a lot of people who make Wendigo miniatures, I guess because Wendigos are like forest spirits, or like they're not a living being, they're kind of like evil made manifest. So this guy, where I put the fur, he had like leaves on him, which I guess makes sense. Like he's an evil forest monster, so he's literally the forest come to life to munch you. But I didn't really like the leaves, so I put the static grass right on top, and now he looks like a weird, like rabid monstrosity. And it makes me really excited because it was super easy. Just put on the static grass, let it dry, and then the only thing I did with the static grass is like airbrush it. So when I primed and base coated his body with the airbrush, like half the model is already done. I feel like I really want to try this again on some more models, maybe some orc hog riders. What else has like fur? I don't know if I would want to do it for like Thunderwolf Cavalry, but anything that can be like, it's a yucky animal. I feel like yucky animals would look really good with this style of fur on them. Big fan of how this model turned out, and it's gonna be really fun to play with in Don't Look Back. My second experiment with Don't Look Back is this little miniature. In the rule book, it has rules for the May Queen, which is like a cultist character. That's the same size as like as one of your normal heroes or your teenagers running around the forest. And so this is a Reaper Bones miniature of just a generic princess. And when I saw it in the blister, I saw this on the blister because I'm like, oh, I can fit one of those Games Workshop skulls from the skull box, skulls for the skull throne. I can fit that on her head. Her hand is just a little bit out. I can fit a cleaver into that hand. I knew this model would be really fun to paint. And so I built this little cleaver kit batter. I cut it out. I made it myself out of some plastic card. And the mask is just from the Games Workshop Skulls box. But I did some really tiny sculpting because I just chopped the front of her face off, which took off a fair bit of hair and part of her hat. And so I re-sculpted her hair, and I sculpted a little strap to hold the mask onto her face. And I'm really proud of it. This model is tiny, absolutely tiny. And you would never know that this is not the real Mini how it was always intended to be. Super spooky, super creepy. I used Blood for the Blood God to get some splatter onto her dress. I tried once again my like white cloth trick, which is you prime it gray or like a blue gray, and then you airbrush a little bit of white on top, and then you do Games Workshop white scars, and then another layer of airbrushing, and then you don't have to do any actual painting. The white is just taken care of and you can move on to other things. And it definitely worked out on this model. Really like how it turned out. It's gonna be really fun having the Scooby-Doo gang go up against like an actual crazed murderer. And then they try to take off the mask and there's just more evil. It's great. A lot of the Scooby-Doo movies have them actually go up against not murderers, but like real monsters. And so it'll be fun in our games to see them go up against it's actually gonna be a bad time. It's gonna be like the Winnie the Pooh movies that have been coming out, where Winnie the Pooh is a horrible murderer, and it's kind of sad because like those stories are so wholesome and cute and quaint, and then they're axe murderers now. I don't know. But anyway, the third thing I tried out with this model is from Bombshell Miniatures. I think it's meant to be kind of like a Guardians of the Galaxy Groot, but so I was painting this model, and I'm not super happy with it, but the thing I tried on this model is gluing grass flocking or foam flocking to her head to make her into an actual tree. And I maybe painted this guy for like an hour. And as soon as I did the hair and I got it a little bit highlighted and shaded, she's evil broccoli. That's it's not a tree. It's a monster broccoli. And I don't want it to be a monster broccoli. I want it to be a monster tree. So, but that's fine. That's fine because this is just an opportunity for me to get to try new things. And I have some ideas of how I can turn this not into a head of broccoli. Maybe some epic basing branches coming out of the hair. Maybe bringing a little bit of the hair down onto the arms. I think there's totally ways to do it. But yeah, it was like midnight and I'm painting this and I'm like, I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get this guy nice and finished. I'm gonna get it super cool. Oh, I've made a vegetable. You don't win them all, but it's always worth experimenting and trying new things. and I definitely think I can make it work. But yeah, this one definitely needs another round on the painting table, for sure. But speaking of the painting table, one thing I'm really excited to have on my painting table is the new free miniature for this month from Games Workshop. Usually these are just something fine. It's an infantry squad. I think I've got a little Ormagant. I've got a Imperial Guardsman. Like, they're just nice to haves. I got a Space Marine once, an Infernus Marine. That was pretty cool. I used them in some kit bashing. But usually it's like something like, do I need to go to the Games Workshop store this weekend to get the model? Probably not. This month, yes. This month, absolutely, I need to go because the free miniature for this month is a Deathwing Terminator, a Deathwing Knight. Number one, an epically cool miniature, but also having a single Space Marine and Terminator armor is an incredibly valuable figure. You can like kit bash it, or even the model is so cool, you almost don't need to kit bash it, just paint it into your army's scheme. Like you can do Librarian in Terminator armor, Chaplain in Terminator armor, Captain in Terminator armor, one of those three things. But there's really good units, especially if you bring Terminators to your games. Like having an attached character can massively boost the ability, like the efficiency of the squad. So yeah, definitely a really, really nice miniature to get. As always, as stocks last, so you got to get there a little early to make sure that you get your free mini, because when they run out, they run out. But yeah, Games Workshop, keep giving me free models that are like really, really nice to have units, so that I don't actually have to buy them separately for a lot of money. I wonder how they decide, because usually it is just a regular infantry dude, but now it's like a really nice elite infantry, almost character style unit. It'll be really interesting to, like, I would love an actual map of everything that they've done, because I think most of it has been fairly whatever. But Deathwing Terminator, I am here for Deathwing Terminator. And speaking of Deathwing Terminators, or more specifically speaking of Warhammer 40,000, I played a game of Warhammer 40,000 and I won. And by won, I mean I tied. And by tied, I mean I technically tied. I lost by 2 points, but I should have tied. I have been battling Sean's Imperial Guard for so long with my Space Marines, but finally this weekend, my army pulled its weight. I play Black Templar, and I've been using the Black Templar detachment, but it's kind of the Black Templars in the Black Templar detachment are kind of the perfect thing for Sean to kill, because his whole army is tanks. 4 Lehman Russ Demolishers, 3 Medusas, like it is a nightmare of over toughness 8 or over strength 8, AP -2, damage D6 or 3 or flat 2, instantly wiping my Space Marines. So I moved into the Vanguard Spearhead detachment, the Raven Guard detachment for the regular Space Marine Codex, and that turned off his Medusas with a -1 to be hit and cover. I kept everything away, trying to blow away his tanks early game. There was tons and tons of back and forth. I made one tactical error when I was doing investigate signals. I accidentally used one of my guys standing on a corner to shoot with. Didn't need to, would have gotten 2 extra points, and that's how I would have tied, because the game ended 62-60, but it could have ended 62-62. Went all 5 turns. It was a really good game, and my Space Marines almost won. And I think with that experience under my belt, I can tweak the list a little bit. I brought my Devastator Centurions, because I love my Devastator Centurions. Not an efficient unit. Just Games Workshop, give them a little points decrease, please. They're my favorite. But no, I'll replace them with something a little bit better, and then I'll probably actually be able to beat tank spam. The Imperial Guard tanks are so brutally tough, but I can deal with them. Wish me luck. But you know it doesn't need any luck? That's right, our Patreon. This month, we have the Mining Colony Terrain and Vehicles, utilitarian machines that are more than they appear, designed to ride across the landscape firing stolen weapons or tunneling underneath to lay traps. And the mine and containers make for thematic and useful terrain. The colony is ready to uprise. And if you always want to be up to date on the goings on here at EonsOfBattle and be entered into our monthly giveaways, this month we're picking 3 followers to receive this month's terrain. You can follow the link in the description below to sign up to our newsletter. It's been a really fun week of wargaming. Did some work on my Gene Stealer Cult, did a little work on my Death Guard, did a whole bunch of work on some other games like Don't Look Back, taking a deeper dive into Moonstone. I've got a lot of ovens in the fire, or fires in the oven, pots in the pans. I don't know. I'm done now. Bye.